In December 1996, Marvel Comics filed for bankruptcy. They were so desperate for cash, they sold Spider-Man to Sony for $7 million. They sold the X-Men to Fox for even less. They had to get rid of their most valuable heroes just to keep the lights on. Then, in December 2009, Disney bought Marvel for $4 billion. Today, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has made over $30 billion at the box office alone. How did a bankrupt comic book company become the most dominant force in entertainment history? This is the story of Marvel's impossible comeback. Marvel's story starts in 1939, when a company called Timely Comics published its first superhero. But the real magic began in the 1960s. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created a universe: Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Iron Man, Thor. Spider-Man was a broke teenager from Queens. The X-Men were outcasts, feared by the people they protected. Iron Man was an arrogant billionaire with a damaged heart. Marvel's heroes weren't perfect. They were flawed, relatable, and that's what made them different. By the 1980s, Marvel was a cultural institution. Their comics sold millions. Their characters were icons. The future looked limitless. And then greed walked through the door. In 1989, a corporate raider named Ron Perlman bought Marvel for $82.5 million. His plan wasn't to make great comics. His plan was to extract as much money as possible. He took Marvel public. He loaded the company with debt. He bought other companies with borrowed money. He turned a creative powerhouse into a financial casino. And for a while, it worked. Marvel's stock soared. Speculators started buying comics as investments, sealing them in plastic, never reading them. But bubbles always burst. In 1993, the comic book market collapsed. Retailers went bankrupt. Distributors failed. The speculators disappeared. Marvel's stock crashed from $35 to just over $2. The company was drowning in more than $600 million of debt. In December 1996, Marvel filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The House of Ideas was dying. When you're desperate, you sell whatever you can. Marvel started selling film rights to their characters, the only valuable assets they had left. Spider-Man went to Sony for just $7 million. The X-Men went to Fox for even less, $2.6 million. Fantastic Four, Hulk, Blade, Daredevil, Ghost Rider. One by one, Marvel's children were sold to other studios. At the time, it made sense. These were comic book characters. Superhero movies were considered box office poison after Batman and Robin nearly killed the genre. Marvel took the money and survived. But here's the painful part. Spider-Man alone has made Sony billions at the box office. The X-Men franchise made Fox billions more. Marvel sold their most valuable assets for pocket change. But that desperation would force them to do something no one expected. By 2005, Marvel was still alive, barely. A new leadership team looked at the situation and saw one path forward: stop licensing characters to other studios, start making their own movies. There was one problem: the best characters were already gone. No Spider-Man, no X-Men, no Fantastic Four. All Marvel had left were the B-list heroes, the ones nobody wanted to buy. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, characters that Hollywood considered second tier at best. The plan was insane. Marvel would bet everything on heroes that no major studio had wanted. They secured a $525 million loan from Merrill Lynch. The collateral? The film rights to 10 characters, including Captain America, Iron Man, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. If their movies failed, Marvel would lose those characters forever. They chose Iron Man as their first film. The lead actor? Robert Downey Jr., a brilliant performer whose career had been destroyed by addiction. Hollywood considered him uninsurable. The director? Jon Favreau, a comedy guy who had never made an action blockbuster. Nobody believed in this movie. It was a desperation play by a company with nothing left to lose. And then Iron Man opened in May 2008. Iron Man made $585 million worldwide. Robert Downey Jr. became a global icon overnight, and Marvel proved that their leftover heroes could compete with anyone. They didn't stop. 2008, Iron Man. 2010, Iron Man 2. 2011, Thor and Captain America, the first Avenger. Each movie connected, each one building towards something bigger. And then came 2012. The Avengers brought Iron Man, Captain Captain America, Thor, and Hulk together on screen for the first time. It made $1.5 billion. Disney had already seen what was coming. In 2009, they bought Marvel for $4 billion, the company that filed for bankruptcy in 1996, the company that sold Spider-Man for $7 million. That company was now worth $4 billion, and they were just getting started. Avengers Endgame alone would make $2.8 billion, the highest-grossing film of all time when it released. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has now made over $30 billion at the box office. The heroes nobody wanted became the most valuable franchise in entertainment history. Marvel didn't win because they had the best characters. They won because they had no choice. When you have Spider-Man and X-Men, you play it safe. You license them out. You let someone else take the risk. But when all you have left are the characters nobody wanted, you're forced to be creative. You're forced to bet on yourself. Iron Man was a B-list hero. Robert Downey Jr. was considered finished. Jon Favreau was an unlikely choice. Marvel had no safety net, and that's exactly why they swung for the fences. Sometimes losing your best assets is the best thing that can happen to you. It forces you to look at what you still have and find the value that everyone else missed. Spider-Man made Sony billions, but the leftover Avengers made Marvel into an empire. The lesson isn't about superheroes, it's about what happens when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start building with whatever you have left. Marvel didn't have the best cards. They just played their hand better than anyone thought possible. Remember, every fortune has a story, and every story has a lesson. What other money stories should we cover? Drop your suggestions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time.